I like taking photographs. I've taken a lot of photographs all my life. And people come to me and they say, why is it that you get your photos published? Well, there's actually one very simple answer. And it's one that's not original to me. It's actually Gary Chudley of the Pacific Union Communication Director, who says the difference between an amateur photographer and a professional is that an amateur takes a few pictures and shows all of them. A professional takes a lot of pictures and shows a few of them. I take a lot of pictures, and here's a few tips to make sure that your pictures can get published on whether it's your local church website, your Facebook page, the church's official websites, or the Messenger or other publications. Let me show you a few pictures that are maybe bad examples. Here we are in Spain, and in fairness, I asked these people to pose, and it's a terrible pose. It's what photographers call a firing squad shot. We do it all the time in church, and we see it in the Messenger. You've got a group of pathfinders, you've got a baptismal service, you've got somebody having an award, and you get the baptismal candidates in the middle, the pastor this side, the church elder that side. You line them all up, point the camera and shoot them all. That's what's happening here. And it's a bad, boring shot. The other thing that's boring in this shot is that the people are looking straight into the sun so that they're squinting, their eyes are in shadow. There's just no perspective to the picture. We want to do something that's better than that. We want to do things like this photo here, for instance, where it is an international day at a church. The people were all standing there. They'd marched in with their flags, standing more or less at attention, serious faces at the front of the church. And I just said, hey, are you proud of your country? Wave your flag, smile. And suddenly the photo came to life. People had something to look at. Instead of a firing squad shot, we had an action shot. And I guess you're probably looking to see if your country's flag is there, which brings interest to it as well. If you've got to take photos of groups of people, and a lot of church photography is about that, try and get a different angle. This is a shot of a camp meeting baptism. But you notice I'm standing up on a balcony looking down so I can see every single face there. And they're all looking at me and they're waving, they're smiling, they're happy. It doesn't look like your standard boring portrait shot. Just think for a minute, look at the back of your newspaper in the sports section. Do you see many photos of football teams all lined up ready to be shot? Or do you see the slaying of, as the goal goes in, the action shot or the acute tackle? It's something where there's movement. That's what people like to see in a photograph. Okay. Some other principles for a good shot that a publisher is going to want to use. Here's 4 pictures of me from a few years ago. I look more handsome now than I do in those pictures. But you'll notice that they're at different distances. Which one would you say is the most useful? I hope you would say it is the one that is nearest the front, that's got more of me in it. A lot of photos that are sent to us, there's a tiny speck of a person or a group in the middle, and then there's masses of open space around the outside, which the editor is going to crop, and it's wasted, and the quality of your photo has gone down. So focus in, get in sharp, get in close to the people, and get the detail. The next thing you want to do is, if you're sending it in to be published, send it in high quality. That means make sure your camera is set on the highest setting possible. When you buy your camera, it's often set on a medium kind of setting. Look in your manual, see how you can turn it up to fine, to the highest picture quality. Use it on that. If you're using a phone camera, and smartphones, the cameras are getting better. They're not fantastic, but they're getting better. Never zoom in electronically, because all that does is reduce the quality of the picture. Just take the picture, get in close, and then send us the full-size file. We want 2, 3, 4 megabyte pictures. We don't want pictures that are so small and fuzzy that they're not publishable. Use the maximum resolution. Don't use an electronic zoom. Use optical zooms, that's fine. On the good cameras, they'll all have them, a compact camera or a digital SLR. All of those are good, and use that, but don't use the electronic zoom. Okay, so you're in the church or you're in the auditorium, you're in the hall, you've got to take a picture. It's not very well lit. How are you going to get that picture? The answer is, again, you take lots of pictures. This is Lord Carey giving a lecture at Newbold, and to be honest, Newbold Church is not the easiest place to take photos in. To get the photos that were published, I probably took at least 90 pictures that evening. Quite standard. I did not use flash, because there's nothing worse than when you're a preacher at the front of a hall or an auditorium to have somebody constantly pressing the flash on their camera and it's going in your eyes, it's distracting the audience. And so I try as much as possible to take photos without flash. That means on a digital SLR camera that I will turn the ISO up. That's an old-fashioned word. It doesn't actually matter what it means. It just means that it allows more light sensitivity into the camera. Don't turn it up so high that the picture gets grainy, but on a good camera, you can certainly turn it up and it allows you to capture the light better. Get in close, because then you don't need as much light either. Take the photo, choose your moment to take the photo. So for instance, Lord Carey uses gestures a lot. So his hand is moving. If his hand is halfway through a movement, it's going to be out of focus in low light. So wait till he's at the top, the hand is still for half a second, get the picture, and you've got him in focus. But you may need to do it 10, 15, 20 times to get that picture. And once you've got it, you just have that lovely aha moment. I've succeeded. I'm ready to publish this picture. If it's your pastor or your conference president or whoever it is, you want them to look good. And sometimes preachers, they pull faces. It's in their expression that's helping convey their message. And again, you've got to, even in good light, take several pictures of them to get the one that flatters them. You really don't want to publish a picture that makes them look ugly. You want to show them at their best. It's the same with singers, because, you know, the mouth goes open and the eyes are shut and screwing up. They're singing beautifully, but that shot, the photo you're going to use, has got to convey the joy or whatever it is that picture is trying to say. Okay, I'm going to show you a few pictures here, and there's something wrong with each of them. Here's the first one. This is Pastor David Neal preaching at the Welsh Day of Fellowship. And don't you think he's wearing a lovely hat? That's actually the problem with this photo. The same way as you get photos where there's a lamppost sticking out the top of the head or something, here the flower display is behind David's head and he looks like Napoleon. That's not what you want. If the photographer just moved to the side a bit, it would be a better picture. Here's Lord Carey again with Dr. Beach, a posed photo outside, and it could be a good picture. In fact, it is a good picture, but there's a couple of things wrong with it. 3 things, in fact. One of them is that they are squinting into the sun. If the photographer had turned them round maybe 5 or 10 degrees to one side, they'd still get the sun, maybe more on the side of the face, so there'd be more contrast in the picture, and they wouldn't be squinting. It would be a better picture. The major problem is the bottom right-hand corner, where the date stamp is there. Why do you need a date stamp? I don't need to know that photo was taken at 20 minutes past 4 on the 19th of some month. I don't even know the year. That means in editing it as an editor, I've got to go into Photoshop and somehow get rid of that date stamp. Make life easy for me. Take the date stamp out. And the last thing is, as you saw in the previous photo, there is a little chimney sticking out Lord Carey's head. But, you know, that's only a small thing. We could survive that. This picture I'm showing you, I would never use it. I take pictures like that. This is a woman's group in West Africa, a South England Women's Ministries thing. It's not a problem that photo was taken. It is a problem that it was one of 250 that was sent to me. If you want me to publish your photo, throw all the bad ones out and send me your good ones. And I will rejoice and tell the whole of the British Isles that you are the best photographer. Here's another bad photo. I took it myself, so I confess this is a farewell presentation. And what you notice is that the sharp focus on this picture is the fan in the middle. I needed to focus either slightly to the left or slightly to the right. I needed to do something else as well. I needed to ask the two individuals to swap positions, because here you've got a dark skin tone against a white wall and you've got a light skin tone against the green leaves behind it. Picture would look better, more balanced the other way round, and the exposure would probably automatically be better. And make sure that you're focusing on the focal point. Right, where do you want to focus on a face? You can tell from Colin and Japheth here, the place I'm focused on in this picture is right on his eyes. It doesn't matter that Japheth is slightly out of focus, because that's just giving a depth of field to the picture which looks nice. But focus on the eyes. If they're in focus, your picture is in focus. Wait for the moments. This is an island. I'm out walking there, and I've been trying to get a picture of this round tower for years. I've been there 3 or 4 or 5 times, and it's Ireland. It's always raining, and so the picture on the right I'd already taken. I'd got it. It was a memory, but it wasn't very good. 20 minutes later, the sun came out. So I turned round and I ran back, and I got that same photo, but so much better with the sunshine. As a photographer, you just need to be a little bit patient until you get the photo that's going to make it for you. Your camera will be set on an auto white balance, and a lot of the time that works very well. But there are times when you want to manually change your white balance. For instance, if you're taking a photograph of a sunset and you take it with auto white balance, the auto will try and reduce the reds in your picture and make it more blue. That's not what you want. You actually want to exaggerate the reds. So if you change your white balance to cloudy, the sunset will look a lot more vibrant. Now, the same thing happens when you walk indoors and you've got a different kind of lighting above your head. It's not natural daylight, and you're trying to use your auto white balance, and sometimes the picture will go yellow or sometimes it will go blue. Well, it doesn't matter that it's done that, as long as you then look at your camera and see that it's done it and think, okay, let me just change the white balance, and I can then get a picture where the colour looks the same as in real life. And just flicking through it and taking another picture may do it for you. And again, there's a picture that I want to publish. So to summarise that, let me show you what I think are some good pictures that any editor is going to want to use. Here we've got a picture out in the countryside, a young photographer getting used to his camera, looking how to take a shot, and you see the picture's balanced. There's a foreground with the tree branch. There's the midground where Tim is with his camera. You can't see what he's taking a picture of, but it doesn't matter. Your mind is clearly telling you, here's a photographer, he's going to do something good. And then behind it, you've got another third of the picture, which is just the trees in the background, making it 3-dimensional. It's a lovely balanced shot. Aim for something like that. How about this picture? This is the British Union office burning down in 2008. This is the next morning, and here is a photograph that went around the world. It was taken on an iPhone, so it wasn't done with an expensive camera, but it caught the moment. The milkman delivers the milk bottles. It's there, bang, right in the foreground, the burnt out shell of the building behind it, and there is a picture of life still going on. It was published around the world. Here's a picture of Pastor Perry with the Adventist World President, Ted Wilson, greeting him and his wife. And I could have posed them. I could have got them standing next to each other, shaking hands and smiling, and that's the picture you would expect to be in the Messenger. But actually, this picture is a lot more fun because you can see the spontaneous joy. You can see the affection in their faces. It's a better photograph. It's one that I'm interested in. Baptisms. We want baptisms reported. We want good photos of baptisms. But very often it is that firing squad photo. Look at these ones. You see the girl coming up out of the water here, the joy on her face, the joy on the pastor's face, the water splashing up at the back of the baptistry. It's a great shot. You see the one with Pastor Steve Thomas here, much shorter than the baptismal candidate, but giving him some advice. I'm strong enough, I can hold you, it's going to be okay. You can see the smile on his face, the last words of wisdom before they go down in the water. It's an engaging picture. It's not a firing squad. We see a handover here with the pastors giving the baptismal candidates their certificates after they've got changed. And again, rather than the formal picture, we've got all the candidates in there, we've got the two pastors in there, but it's a picture of action. And that is so much better. We could look at a lot of pictures, but aim to try and do something that gives joy. At the investiture, do you have to send in a picture of all the candidates lined up? Or can you submit a picture of their camp out and a highlight activity from it? In a worship service, can you find the singer when it's in a moment of joy, a moment of adoration? Get the lighting and the atmosphere there and try and show how that's working. Sometimes you need to get low down. Here are some steppers at South Camp meeting, sharing their style of music and praising the Lord. And to get that, the emphasis is they're clapping their hands and they're stepping, so they're using their legs, which is why they've got those bright red trousers on. And so I am down on my knees in front of them to get the angle looking up. And you are seeing their movement, even though it's a still photograph. It doesn't matter that their hands are out of focus while they're clapping, because it demonstrates this is action and it's an engaging picture. Disabled camp, an action shot rather than a picture of the whole camp. Engaging people in the things you're trying to do. A shot of communion here. You can't even see who the person is taking the bread and the wine, but you know that picture is a story. Children, get permission if it's in a local church particularly. Group shots better. There's guidelines on our website as to using children in photography, but they're engaging. Children sell newspapers. They also engage your eye when you're looking in the messenger or on the website or anywhere else, and get them involved in the action, and it's lovely. I think that just gives you a few steps, a few guidance on how you can use photos that people are going to want to publish. I would say to you, the main thing is get your camera out, use it, keep using it, then just send in your good photos to the messenger, to BUC News, to our websites, for publication on your website. Take a lot, use a few, and we will all believe that you are a professional.